Hi, my name's Erin Regan, and I'm the president of the Penn Science Policy and Diplomacy Group. I'm also the deputy leading our racial justice work, and today I'll be talking about our experience and what we've learned from applying our science policy skills to evaluating and improving policies related to recruitment and retention of underrepresented minority groups in STEM graduate programs at the University of Pennsylvania. First off, establish relationships with stakeholder groups. We directly contacted leaders of affinity organizations or longstanding groups whose missions are to support Black or Latinx trainees. We centered their needs and their struggles and made our work a tool for their toolbox. We also identified a permanent liaison with existing ties to both groups in order to handle communications and ease the burden on already heavily overburdened affinity group leaders while also ensuring open communication. Next, build good faith with university administrators. Strong, good faith relationships with university admins are vital to support implementation of our recommended changes and also to ensure access to internal resources. We've met continuously with administrators at all levels, from community chairs up to program directors, sharing with them our process, our progress, and our goals. We importantly framed admins as collaborators or teammates rather than adversaries, and this has resulted in key administrators going out of their way and donating their time to provide us with vital internal documentation and data. Also, recruit committed volunteers from diverse backgrounds. We distributed an ad for volunteers to the PSPDG listserv, to our general members. Our request was for people to devote an uncertain amount of time to a rapidly evolving project to promote racial justice at Penn. And importantly, to only volunteer if willing to do the work, not just because they feel guilty. The response was that we received more volunteers than we asked for, and requests to volunteer have continued to come in regularly despite no additional recruitment efforts. Importantly, you must also emphasize representation of diverse backgrounds on your team, including marginalized groups of many different types, plus different training stages, programs, and departments. Then, identify your goals and triage your top priorities to address first. So we interviewed stakeholders on the issues they wanted us to address. We spoke to affinity groups, existing diversity program administrators, and members of marginalized groups that were not affiliated with any organization to represent them. Then we solicited their feedback on which priorities we should be addressing first. The results were admissions, existing diversity programs, and faculty hiring practices. Then strategize by considering your audience in order to increase your impact. See where you have the most power. We chose Penn's Biomedical Graduate Studies program because we were familiar with its power structure and had team members embedded throughout. Then connect the past, present, and future to make a compelling case for your audience. We decided to go with a three-pronged approach. We analyzed admissions demographic data from 2008 through 2020. Then we evaluated current policies and conducted surveys on the scientific literature to determine best practices moving forward. Right now, we're in the process of merging these findings into personalized memos for each program, connecting their current policies and their impacts with our recommended policy changes. Of course, to bring change, you have to plan out how your recommendations will be implemented. Establish an expectation of accountability. For example, we communicated to program administrators that we would be delivering personalized reports with recommendations to them. You must also consider external timelines at play. For us, we provided enough lead time with our reports to enable administrators to implement our recommendations in time for the next admission cycle. And of course, you have to build coalitions for potential pressure campaigns that you may need later. We established solidarity with both stakeholder and non-stakeholder groups to apply pressure to decision makers and encourage implementation in case we face a lot of resistance. In conclusion, this work is not new, and it's not going to be finished overnight. It requires a commitment of both a lot of people and a lot of energy, but it is necessary. What's become increasingly clear is that all of us have an obligation to bring about equity in our own communities. We need more science policy groups doing this work at their institutions across the country. Hopefully, this glance at our efforts has provided you with a playbook to get you started. If you have any questions or you'd like to discuss this in greater detail, please stop by my Q&A session. Thank you for your time and have a great day.